Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you, Celie, for hosting this wonderful monthly event, and Ziba, thanks for having us in your beautiful auditorium. Let's start my slideshow. Oops, wrong way. Got it. Okay, so I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you about color and my love of color and my work putting color on paper. I'm a print entrepreneur, and I am the co-founder, along with Austin, of Pinball Publishing. And our parent company, Pinball, now powers 2 other brands called Scoutbooks and Outposts. And our work really started 13 years ago when we decided to buy several pieces of used printing equipment and sign a lease on a commercial storefront. And I love this picture so much from the early days because it really reminds me of that blank slate stepping off point, which is when you desire a creative outcome, and which in our case was the publishing of literary content. And then you have to commit to that desire to make the creative work a reality. And so Austin and I were 23 and 24 at that point in our life, and we really decided to go for it with this space. Even though we had no business plan, and I actually had no prior experience in print or design. So it was really scary financially, emotionally, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I felt like I was making it up pretty much every day, which is honestly sort of how it was. We were making it up, but I think that's true for any of us when we're trying new things. It's scary and it's necessary because it's how you grow. And I'm very, very glad we went for it because we've learned so much these past 13 years, and so many amazing opportunities have evolved from that one decision to fill a storefront on Southeast Clinton with our printing equipment and then bring that place to life through putting color on paper. So I want to encourage all of you to do things that scare you and push your limits, because it's definitely critical for your growth as creative people. Nowadays, we operate out of this space on the corner of Southeast 10th and Clinton. I mean, no, 10th and Grant. In 2 bright yellow buildings that house our studio, our offices, and our manufacturing facilities. And I love coming to work here. I love that, I'm so grateful that our offset and silkscreen printing companies have not only survived, but really thrived in the digital era. And I think it's due to the enduring power and allure of beautiful printing, but also because of how the internet can connect our work on this corner of Southeast Portland with the rest of the world. And when I see these buildings, this is what I really feel. Because it's basically a rainbow factory. We get to work every day with beautiful ink colors and shoulder-high palettes of paper, transforming those raw materials into wonderful, useful printed goods. And like I mentioned, we are, in the past 2 years, we've narrowed our focus at Pinball to specifically focus on 2 print brands, and those are Scoutbooks and Outpost signs. And Scoutbooks are craft notebooks made with 100% recycled paper. Hopefully you grabbed one on the way in. And Outposts are commissioned silkscreen signs that we do on occasion. And the 2 examples shown in this slide are very near and dear to my heart because of just the relationships they represent. And the one I'm holding was designed by my sister-in-law as a collaboration with her surface design company, Pattern People, and Scoutbooks. And then the sign that Austin's holding is one of our very early designs for Stumptown Coffee, which we created and then we also printed. And It's still in circulation today. We designed it over 10 years ago, but it's now shown nationwide since Stumptown's grown so much. And I'm just really proud that the things we've made have continued to remain relevant and beautiful for both our friends, family, and our business connections. And I ultimately approach all of our work and clients as though they will be friends someday, even though many of them are not based in Portland anymore. And I want all of our business transactions to be win-win, and I pour my heart into making that happen. And so do these people. Our shop is powered by the hard work of these 11 full-time employees, full-time staff, and we have others that help from time to time. And I just wanted to share their faces with you because I definitely wouldn't be on this stage without all of their hard work. And this talented team of mine is tasked with the challenge of being sensitive to color in both designing and reproducing it. And today I want to talk about my fascination with how our eyes see color and how we talk about color through language. And then I'll show more of our work and how that work is rooted in these human experiences. So most animals are light sensitive, but humans are among the lucky creatures who are also sensitive to color. And we're able to detect these variations in color because of special cells in our eyes. And these are photoreceptor cells in our retinas, and they're called rods and cones. Well, not exactly that rod or that cone, but actually these are what they look like. And the close-up picture of the cells in this one, the rods are in green, and those are the cells that are sensitive to light and dark variations, and the cones are in purple, and those are the cells that are actually allowing us to see color. There's normally 3 types in human eyes, and each type is sensitive to either red, green, or blue. And the cone cells work best in bright light, which is why we don't see color very well in dimly lit situations. And when someone's colorblind, it's usually because of an absence or weakness of one of these types of cells. And so when white light hits an object, like this red ball, the red is the part of the light wave that is reflected from the object. That's what's absorbed by our eyes. It's detected by our cone cells, communicated via our optic nerve, ultimately resulting in a recognition of red by our brain. I think this is totally amazing, and it takes light, our cones, and ultimately our brain to experience this. And so here's a fun trick to play on your eyes. Just look at that black X for a while and tell me what you see. Right. Good job, your eyes work. So if you see green, then your eyes are working right. Staring at the purple spots for so long is exhausting those cone cells in your retinas that are sensitive to that, and it's resulting in a negative after image. So we're not the most color endowed of animals on the planet. Some birds, some fish, and some insects can actually see ultraviolet due to a 4th cone. And this creature, the mantis shrimp, wins the prize for the most elaborate eyes ever discovered. It has 16 types of cone cells, and I just think it'd be really cool to see what it sees for a day. But we won't be doing that. Most of us are only going to be able to see this visible spectrum, and that's the rainbow spectrum. And it was really in the 1660s when we started to have a true understanding of the science of color, not due to Pink Floyd, but to another English person from England. Isaac Newton did experiments during that time on light, and using 2 prisms, he was able to separate the white light into the spectrum of color and then recombined it. And prior to that, the thought was that the prism was adding color somehow to light, but he really came to understand that the colors were present within the light. And what he also did was name the colors that he saw, and he works somewhere kind of like this. So he He wrote a book called Optics, and within that, he did a color wheel chart, kind of like this one you see here. I mean, he drew that, so it is that one. And in his work, he initially had 11 names for the colors he saw in the rainbow spectrum, but he pared it down to 7 to match up with the 7 notes in a Western musical scale. So that's how we ended up with the familiar red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. But really, our eyes can see 2 to 10 million colors, which is so awesome, because it lets us see things like this. Maybe some of you actually did, because the aurora borealis was supposedly viewable last week. Or things like this, committed soccer fans. Or things like this, amazing color celebrations of spring in India. Or amazing things like this, pop culture at its finest. And so, all of these are incredible color experiences. And while other animals can definitely share in the color experience, we are uniquely adapted to talk about those experiences using language. And this is going to bring me to my second part of the talk, which is about color terms and how we name and understand color from a linguistic perspective. So, humans, we're uniquely adapted to talk via written language, oral language, and for me, the variety and complexity of the world's language is an endless source of inspiration. And it's what I was interested in before we started pinball. I was an anthropology major, and I love studying foreign languages and linguistics. And in my undergraduate studies, I was introduced to this theory called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. And this theory proposed that language determines thought. And it was controversial. You can also call it linguistic relativism. It's not a popular theory for those people who want to believe in a more universal experience of human language. So people set out to disprove it, and some of these people did a study on color and color names. And their names were Brent Berlin and Paul Kay. They're an anthropologist and linguist. And in the 60s, they set out to interview a lot of people and collect data from other people working in linguistics to see how world languages discuss color. And so they collected data from 98 different languages using a color tile chart like this from Munsell Color. And what they found was that while not every language has the same color terms, they are going to follow the same path in arriving at those color terms. So they felt that this disproved that idea that language is relative. And so what they found was that almost all languages have at least 2 color terms. And if they only have 2, those color terms are going to be black and white or light and dark. And if they have a third, it will be red. And if they have a fourth, it'll be either green or yellow. And then the fifth will be the other. If it's yellow, it would be green, or vice versa. The 6th will be blue. 7th will be brown. And then the remaining 4 will come at about the same time in the evolution, and those are purple, pink, orange, and gray. And so the absolutes of this study, this was a very influential study for both linguistics and psychology, and the absolutes have loosened over time. Basically, not every language follows this pattern, which they in their first book said everyone did. But the majority do, and there's even some new evidence that having a name for color makes the viewer slightly more sensitive to differentiating it. So being able to communicate well with color, being able to envision it, specify it, and ultimately make good decisions about it is a critical part of practicing design, any field of design. And it's one of the most magical parts of print design, if you ask me. And we all know there are many descriptive names for color from going into a paint store or looking at the wrappers on a Crayola, and those descriptive names can often be subjective. So that's hard for professionals to handle, especially when planning print projects. And that's where the Pantone matching system comes in. And Pantone was established in 1962, and over the past 50 years, it's really become a huge influence on how designers talk about color. And I personally had a very steep learning curve when we started Pinball, and Pantone was my compass. It guided me through conversations about color and helped me organize projects for print design. And we definitely relied heavily on this specific swatch book, which is a formula guide for solid ink color on uncoated paper. And Pinball's work has always been heavily relying on spot or solid ink color, and we've always preferred uncoated paper. So the Pantone guide uses these 14, you can see them, kind of the middle ones, they're 14 mixing colors. Those are like the basic ingredients of color for the recipe guide that is this formula guide. And each formula is a recipe, and the idea is that if you follow the formula correctly, and if the mixing ink colors are prepared at your ink company in accordance to Pantone's instructions, then your colors should be accurately matching. And there's a few challenges to this framework. First, you need to be printing on a paper color that exactly matches the Pantone guide. Offset printing inks are semi-transparent, so the color of paper is going to influence the final printed color. And the second dilemma is that Pantone specifications are basically licensed to ink companies, and those ink companies are tested to make sure their calibrations are correct. And we've found that some colors are just trickier to hit without slight tweaks to the formula. So we've worked closely with our ink company here in Portland, Great Western Ink, to aim for as accurate as color matching as possible. It's a science and an art, but everything gets thrown for a loop when you print on a different paper color, which we love to do, especially chipboard, which is a tan or a craft color. And we've built a product line on top of this paper, and specifically had to work to create our own tools to communicate about color so that people can make good decisions. So we've custom mixed inks to look good on chipboard, and we've created our own ink guide, which you can see here, showing off 10 of our standard colors. And we also do custom matches when people need to go beyond that standard library. And these are examples of drawdowns where you get your ink tested on chipboard, allowing you to see how it might reproduce with your project. And we've done all this work in alliance with our ink company, and I wanted to show you how that process happened. So I made this video with them, and here we go. At Scoutbooks, we're surrounded and inspired by color every day. Each color's adventure starts at Great Western Ink, based right here in Portland, Oregon. We've worked closely with them to develop custom ink mixes that print beautifully on the covers of your Scoutbooks. Every color is hand-mixed to our unique specifications. From there, our friends at Magpie Messenger carry our inks across town to our shop where they're put to work bringing your designs to life. We use 100% recycled papers sourced from U.S. paper mills in all of our Scoutbooks. We apply ink to paper using traditional offset printing. We then transform the printed paper from flat sheets in our bindery department to make pocket-sized books. From the size of the books to the number of pages, we've made deliberate decisions to reduce waste and encourage creativity. We've designed Scoutbooks to be versatile, affordable, and easy on the environment. We designed them for you, so that you can bring your good ideas to life. Little insight on our shop. So now you see where our ink's made and where Scout books are made, and you know that we use ink and paper to manufacture our product line. And basically I want to go over showing off how some of our amazing clients have used the format and also show off different print techniques. So starting with this awesome color, black on chipboard. It's basic and it's awesome, and it's the most commonly chosen color, interestingly. But you don't have to stop at black. You can use other colors in a single color design. You can also use black and white. It's classic. I love that Facebook's using Scout books to talk about content development. Okay, and then you can use black and another standard color. And these are two really special projects, in my opinion, because they show off how the Scout book can be used to share content. One, the Center for Civic Design uses them to do field guides for helping run better elections through better design. And then Future Tense is a Portland-based publisher that started releasing pocket-sized literary content in the Scout book format. You can design with custom colors using illustration or photographic reproduction, which in printing is done through halftones. You can release a series using the same two colors in different ways, which can be really fun. This is just a little sneak of some silkscreen work that we do, because these colors are incredible. But we do all the color matching in-house for our screen printing, and so these are for a Stumptown release that was done this summer. Silkscreen inks are not semi-transparent, so different things happen. They're opaque through their opacity. We can also do full color, which is shown here, and overprinting with halftones, metallics, showing off just how much bling you can get. Thanks, Dave, for letting me use the photo. And then here's an example of overprinting, which is used in the sample that hopefully you guys got, where you can create a third color through the overlay of two. And from time to time, we also do full color covers. And it's just sort of the tip of the iceberg. We've been really proud at how the Scout Books project has evolved into its own business. And we're excited that by the end of this year, we'll have made over 3 million Scout books, which kind of blows my mind. And that's definitely a lot of them. But what I love that it's not just millions of books and notebooks. It's ultimately 3 million tools for collecting, exploring, and sharing your ideas. And I truly think you can't develop great or even good ideas without having a lot of them. And I strongly believe that using ink on paper is the best way to get ideas out of your head and into the world. So thanks for being here.